On January 28, 1813, 200 years ago, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice was published. Celebrating the anniversary of the publication were many Americans who call themselves Janeites and Austenites. The Jane Austen North American Society also held celebrations with its thousands of members. In short, Jane Austen is pretty famous in America. It's hard to know much about her American popularity at the time Pride and Prejudice was published, because the nascent United States of America and Britain were at war. What's even harder to gauge was what a Native American woman would have thought of the novel in that era. But that's exactly what I set out to do. By thoroughly researching the Iroquois culture, specifically the Mohawk tribe, one of the tribes in the Iroquois Confederacy, and by using a wee bit of imagination, this project features a Mohawk woman and her take of the novel Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen in Indian Country. After being shooed away from her chores by her mother, a young Mohawk woman retreats to a huge oak tree to sit and read Pride and Prejudice. Her mother had reminded her that the key to a balanced soul is enough rest and play mixed with work, so read she must. She cracks the book open and discovers the first line. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. This puzzles her for a moment. Don't we all crave love, she wonders? She presses on. Yet soon enough, she ponders the end line of the first chapter about Mrs. Bennet. The business of her life was to get her daughters married. She knows that Europeans and her Euro-American neighbors court like this, waiting for the parents to arrange and or approve of a marriage. But still she thinks it must be disconcerting to have your parents meddle in your business. Of course, hers do too, she realizes. But the choice who she wants to marry is all hers, if she wants to marry at all. She can't help but begin to feel sorry for the Bennet girls, who seem so focused on marriage, except for Lizzie. She thinks she will like this Lizzie. She reads of the dance where Lizzie meets Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy, whom insults her. Soon there's an emotional tug-of-war between Lizzie and Mr. Darcy. Then she reads about Lizzie meeting Mr. Wickham, a soldier. She wonders if Mr. Wickham has fought in America or France or somewhere else. Lizzie doesn't ask. War, however, is pervasive for her. She was born after the War for Independence or the American Revolution. But no one seems to take heed that the war caused the largest civil war for all Native Americans that ever existed. The world turned upside down, her grandmother told her. The Iroquois nation was torn apart. Once a proud confederacy of 6 Native American tribes, it is in shambles. Many of its people killed in the war or forced to retreat to far-off lands to the west or north. There are so many refugees. Now the British fight with America again. At the American Revolution, the tribes are splitting apart, choosing to be either the American side or the British. Often brother fights against brother with this war as it was in the last. She wonders how it is that Lizzie doesn't seem to bother with questions about the war, but she continues reading. Lizzie meets Mr. Collins, who asks Lizzie to marry her. This kind of incest is disgusting to her, so she's glad when Lizzie refuses to marry her own cousin. Then Mr. Collins marries Lizzie's friend, Miss Charlotte Lucas. Lizzie seems upset about this, but Charlotte wanted security and didn't need love in order to marry. She understands Lizzie's sentiments towards Charlotte. She thinks marriage should have love too. Mohawk marry for love. The Euro-Americans underestimate their marriages because it is little more than asking a man into a woman's lodge. And most especially seem to misjudge Mohawk marriages because divorce is as simple as asking a husband to leave the lodge. But she knows that Mohawk are monogamous, usually for life. One day she will marry a man who will come into her village, make her life his. So that is why it is easy for her to want to marry for love. It seems that Lizzie wants to marry for love too. Then she reads of how Mr. Darcy asked Lizzie to marry him.
Miss Elizabeth, I have struggled in vain and I can bear it no longer. These past months have been a torment. I came to Rosings with the single object of seeing you. I had to see you. I have fought against my better judgment, my family's expectation, the inferiority of your birth, my rank and circumstance, all these things, and I'm willing to put them aside and ask you to end my agony.
I don't understand.
I love you. Most ardently. Please do me the honor of accepting my hand.
Lizzie refuses that proposal too, but then Mr. Darcy gives Lizzie a letter explaining himself, and in it Mr. Darcy reveals what kind of man Mr. Wickham really is. If Lizzie had asked what kind of soldier he was, known more about gallantry on a real battlefield, maybe Mr. Darcy wouldn't have had to write such a letter, she wonders. On she reads about Mr. Darcy helping Lizzie with Lydia's elopement. Mr. Darcy asks once more for Lizzie's hand, and Lizzie accepts. She likes this ending. She likes that Lizzie has a love match. So what does she think about the book? She wonders about Lizzie's world. How a woman can have so much, yet so little. How a woman's worth seems to be represented by who she could marry. Yet Lizzie tried to stand against that. Or did she? In the end, Lizzie did agree to marry, but Lizzie married for love. She wonders if Lizzie would think they are not all that different in wanting to marry for love.